There's a really interesting category of devices in the market called smart TVs. The interesting thing about them is that most people thought of them as a new form of media activation, media distribution, and certainly that's how the industry positioned itself when it came to market several years ago. But what we're finding is that smart TV actually has broader relevance than just the apps and the advertising space within those apps. We believe that smart TVs will present a new form of data that informs even very traditional TV advertising bets and investments that brands are making. And that the TV data that we get from smart TV will influence traditional TV advertising, both in the way it's bought and sold, as well as how it's measured. There'll be some manufacturers that will build a walled garden around their platform, and I think that will probably fail. Walled gardens are very difficult to persist over the long term, simply because you need a lot of scale, you need dominant market share, and if you're Google or Facebook, you can accomplish that. If you only represent 5 or 10% of the population, I think a walled garden starts to fall over, just because no one wants to deal with proprietary rules, proprietary measurement, and so we're skeptical of the walled garden play within the smart TV arena. A big issue we're seeing in smart TV is privacy. It is the number one issue, simply because it's a new category of device. It's not one that people expect to be monitoring people's behavior, and certainly a lot of efforts for smart TV manufacturers to capture data haven't been coupled with a benefit for the consumer. In certain cases, they haven't even been coupled with a disclosure to the consumer, and we've seen that result in class action lawsuits, in government regulation and fines. And so I think the manufacturers are learning a very quick lesson in technology, in platforms, and positioning these devices not only for their own benefit, but also for their customers' benefit, the end user. So we believe, first and foremost, a smart TV should present a better viewing experience than traditional TVs, and that smart TVs can benefit from the data that it can capture simply by making the user interface more adaptive, more responsive, more personal. And that should be table stakes. Any TV manufacturer that collects data should use the data first and foremost for consumer benefit. And then once you've accomplished a certain level of trust, of buy-in, a clear level of disclosure, think of it as an application, just like any other. If the consumer installs that application, if the consumer actually activates it, then you can figure out the business model, the data benefits that have opportunity for advertisers and broadcasters, et cetera, et cetera. So the question always comes, well, why collect data from a smart TV and what can you use it for? So we know that the smart TV represents a subset of the overall population, and it's usually an early adopter, maybe higher income. And so smart TVs generally are skewed in the data that they produce. Over time, that skew normalizes and starts to become more representative. But what we like to do when we capture data from a display is append that or match it with other data sets so that we can see, does this represent somebody in an early adopter market? Are they higher income? And so we actually eliminate some of our data because we want to look for the truth set, that representative population within the overall data. And once we have that, we can use it for a variety of very interesting things. One, we can use it to understand what particular shows and programming are very highly indexed to a particular type of product or brand. And so that's a sort of data set that we can use for planning purposes to help advertisers identify where to sponsor. We can also use it for measurement. After TV commercial exposure, are people more likely to buy your product? And so that's matching our data with our customers' data. But there's a really powerful exercise in activation too, which is that after somebody's seen your TV commercial, can you use data to stay with that consumer? To basically say, well, now that you've seen the product and you maybe have some desire to learn more about the product, can you then use digital advertising to basically retarget the TV ad and to stay with that consumer in a non-intrusive way, but in other devices, maybe in mobile and tablet, PC, to stay with the consumer with a new form of messaging that says, well, if you like that car, how would you like to see it in a color of your choice? Or if you like that movie trailer, here are the showtimes and tickets so that you can go see the movie. That form of retargeting is actually proving to be a very high performance form of activation for our customers.